I fell in love with love and the idea of... It's Andrew Larson from Andrew Larson's Film Review channel. That's a song from Guardians of the Galaxy, Vol. 3, short for volume. It's the third of the 3 movies I will be reviewing for you in this video today. Guardians of the Galaxy, Vol. 3. It's been a long time coming. The other 2 movies I will be reviewing in this video. The first one, Sisu. The second one, Polite Society. The first one's first. Sisu. Spoiler-free review. Sisu. This movie, I went into it, I watched it, and I was watching it, and the whole time watching it, I was like, this is another one of those movies from producer David Leitch where they messed with the wrong guy. Like Nobody and Silent Night in the John Wick and Bullet Train. You guys messed with Nobody? Oh, you're lucky only 100 people died. Oh, you guys messed with John Wick? Oh, you're lucky only 30 people died. Oh, you guys messed with Silent Night? Oh, you're lucky only 700 people died. Oh, you guys messed with hippie Brad Pitt? Oh, you're lucky only fucking 400 people died. And I watched this one, I was thinking, this one's pretty good. This is the best. It's more simplistic. It's got more brutality. This is a brutal movie. The guy really gets torn apart, and he has to sew himself up. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90% of the movie is him sewing himself back up, pouring gasoline on his disgusting wounds. This is a decrepit old man. He doesn't care if he dies. Sisu is a word, a Finnish word. Not the word finish, like I'm done, like the country Finishland. That's a word. Finnish. Sisu means even if you're hurt or your body's falling apart, you're going to keep fighting and you're never going to give up. It's that Sisu spirit. And I was like, wow, David Leitch, producer David Leitch, who produced all these John Wick movies, he's really coming to his own. He's really made a solid, distinct vision with this Sisu. This is the best of his you messed with the wrong guy movies. But nope, this is a movie from a completely different filmmaker. David Leitch has nothing to do with this one. This is a movie from a Finnish guy, and he made that movie Rare Exports. I never seen that movie. This movie's pretty good. It's fine. It's better than John Wick. Chapter 4 even. Spoiler review. Spoiler review. Sisu. It's a guy. He's got gold. There's Nazis. I don't know when this takes place. 1900s? 1800s? 1700s? There's Nazis. Gold. There's cars. Woman. Guns. He's got gold. He wants to bring the gold to the bank. The Nazis want the gold for themselves. He has to kill him. They messed with the wrong guy. He's magic. Smart. He doesn't die. He can fall apart and sew himself up. This movie's pretty awesome, and I really only had one big problem with it. Besides the fact that it's just one of those John Wick movies again, but apparently not. And that problem was that there was just like pretty early on in the movie, it like introduces this like secondary bad guy character. And like his character trait is that he likes to rape women. And there's just like a pretty bad taste. Like early on in the movie, there's a scene where like there's a woman he's raped, and she's like just like crying and like pulling her like skirt down over her legs, and it's just like that. The payoff is a girl boss moment where all the girls get to beat him up at the end, and just cynical, bad taste, cheap stuff. I don't want to see that in my movie. I don't know what to say, because on the one hand, it's nice to see a guy get his comeuppance, but you present this nasty rape into the movie just to shove this girl boss element into the Sisu. Who cares? Get the woman out of Sisu. Take away the woman, I'd give this a B+, maybe, I don't know. But with the woman, I'm going to give it something like a B. It's about as good as a John Wick Chapter 4, maybe a little better, because it's not as like filled with crap, not 3 hours long. The action isn't as smooth and stylish as like the Chad Stahelski's action choreography, but it's grittier, it's more brutal. Shit moves. Go see Sisu. Alright, the next movie I'll be reviewing, this is Polite Society. This is a movie about a demographic of people, wealthy British Indian people. Never heard of them. This movie was alien to me, but I enjoyed it. It was fine. It was about as good as Sisu. Just fine. Another fine movie. Fine. Spoiler-free review. So this movie, it's like presented as like kind of like a Everything Everywhere All at Once meets a Scott Pilgrim versus the World. It's like genre-bending, ethnic family drama with some comedy, quirky, independent. Maybe, I don't know. This is British. I don't know. I don't know what the hell I'm watching. It was affecting. It had a very strange plot once you got to the end. It all seemed pretty basic up until you got to the end. And then it really kind of had a payoff. Where it wasn't just like generic copy and pasted from these other genre-bending, quirky comedies. It really did have a kind of like a strange societal message at the end that was unique to this one weird movie. Spoiler review. So it's about like the British Indians, and they like two ladies, and one of them's like a teenager, and one of them's like 20 or something, I don't know, and they have like a bond, and the older one is going to art school and drops out, and the younger one is going to like a prep school, and she dreams of being a martial artist stunt woman. The older one that dropped out of art school, she's been set up on a date with a wealthy Pakistani man, and her and her sister, they both know that this wealthy Pakistani man is looking to marry somebody, but the older sister thinks that she won't fall for the trick. But she eventually does fall for the trick. She gets engaged to this man, and the younger sister, the martial artist, she does not want that to happen. She thinks this man, who has a strange relationship with his mother, is dangerous. The two sisters become estranged, and the younger sister's like sneaking around trying to separate her older sister and the guy, and they're making plans to get married. And all the while there are these like crazy martial arts sequences, and I don't know. At first I thought it was kind of annoying because I thought you were supposed to take it as like it's like fantasy, but then by the end of it I was like, these are just like psychotic. They live in a psychotic, violent society, and these people are constantly just breaking out into fights. It's just played literal. Everybody's fighting all the time, causing destruction to property. It's not like played like a fantasy. It's just there. It's just an element of the movie to make it more entertaining. And everybody's beating the crap out of each other. I don't want to see any kind of sequence in a movie that's inside of someone's head. If you're going to present fantasy, you got to make a self-contained fantasy world and present it with rules, and it's got to make sense, and I got to be immersed inside of it. This movie pretty much did that. It didn't really ever break me out of that crazy fantasy world of the British Indians beating the crap out of each other. Goes pretty crazy places with the plot. It turns out the schizophrenic younger sister is right to be afraid of this Pakistani man and his overbearing mother. Turns out that they have a plot. This Pakistani man is a geneticist, and he's got a plot. He's picked the older sister because she has a great womb, and he can use this womb to create a clone of his mother. Pretty crazy. And it's got like I don't know, something to say about like social structures in the home. Fine movie. This Sisu and this, two fine movies. The next movie I'll be reviewing, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Here we are, the third movie. It's a trilogy helmed by an auteur, James Gunn. He wrote and directed all three of the movies. Pretty unique for an MCU film, and we've seen these characters so much, and they've been spammed to death, and there's the holiday special, and they're in the Avengers movies, and I'm ready to see it like come to a close, and I'm here for this finale, and it's pretty good. I don't think it reaches the heights of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which I think is one of the best of the MCU movies. I've said multiple times, but it does come close. It comes pretty close. I think it's missing a little bit of a spark. I don't know if it's because James Gunn is just in so many places doing so many things. In between Volume 2 and this Volume 3, he made a TV series and the Suicide Squad and 100 other things. Who the hell knows what this guy's doing? He's doing everything. And I think when you're doing everything like that, hustling, I don't know, maybe you got losing a little bit of the creative spark in your one project. I mean, he's got like the directorial vision, but I think there's just individual moments that are missing the spark. But it's still pretty great, and definitely upper tier MCU movie. This is a movie that introduces a whole lot of new strange concepts, just like the last one did. It's not like unfamiliar territory in like the big sense, but in the small sense, lots of different science fiction concepts, weird things happening. This movie's pretty self-contained. It's about Rocket Raccoon,
and it doesn't really play into anything else in any of the MCU movies, specifically, or in a big way, that I can tell. Howard the Duck's in there. Sylvester Stallone's in there.
Alright, spoiler review. So this movie's about Rocket Raccoon and where he came from. He came from this guy. And it's another black villain after Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. And that's not what I'm looking for in these movies. That's not why I'm giving these movies good reviews. This black villain is different than the one in Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
This black guy is, he's like a genetic experimentist, and he like goes across the universe seeding things like a Prometheus alien. From Prometheus, Alien, the franchise. He's one of those ancient aliens that goes around seeding societies. And this is the guy who created Rocket Raccoon because he was experimenting with raccoons. And Rocket Raccoon is the smartest creation that he's ever made for no reason. That's not explained. Just magically, by magic, by coincidence, this guy is like capable of like the craziest shit in the fucking world, but somehow Rocket Raccoon is like the only perfect thing he's ever made, even though he wasn't even trying. It just turned out perfect because like he was like the perfect raccoon. It's not explained. No one bothers trying to explain this. It's just there. Rocket Raccoon is special. Rocket Raccoon is a special guy. This guy wants Rocket Raccoon. He decides he wants him right now. He's trying to build a new planet with a new society of these little blonde kids. And he wants to put the special thing that makes Rocket Raccoon special. He wants to pull that specialness out of his brain and put it into the kids to make that his new planet special. Because the problem with all the other planets that he's made is that they aren't special. There's like the golden blonde people from the other movie, and the golden blonde woman made a golden blonde guy, and the golden blonde guy is Adam Warlock or something. Adam the Warlock, Adam. So these golden people are another race that was made by this black guy that created Rocket Raccoon. And they're like disgraced in the eyes of this guy, and they feel that if they get Rocket Raccoon and bring it to the black guy, that they'll be back in favor and they might get to live more, exist more as a civilization. So that's Adam Warlock and his mom. He's like a mama's boy. It's another movie about a mama's boy. He's flying around trying to get Rocket Raccoon. He actually hurts Rocket Raccoon, and Rocket Raccoon getting hurt is what makes it so the Guardians of the Galaxy have to go like perform a heist to get the blueprints of Rocket Raccoon's heart so that they can perform heart surgery or something. So they go to one of the black guy's planets, and it's like called Counter Earth, and it's like another type of Earth, but all the people have animal faces, and there's all like sorts of animal hybrid robot creatures guarding it, and he has a big pyramid spaceship in the middle of it. The black guy does, and there's a big face-off there, and Gamora's there for no reason. Nebula, who's now the leader of the Guardians of the Galaxy instead of Peter Quill, Star-Lord. She invites Gamora along. Gamora's now the head of the Ravagers. She's taken Peter Quill's position, Yondu's position as the head of the Ravagers or whatever. There's a lot of story. There's a whole lot of story elements going on here. And some of it carries over from like the holiday special. Like there's like a dog. There's a dog that talks. A telekinetic dog named Cosmo, I'm pretty sure, hanging out with Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, as Kraglin, who's now a bigger part of the team. It's all a lot going on, but it all works. There's this whole backstory that's presented as Rocket Raccoon is like in a coma, which Rocket Raccoon is like comatose for a good amount of this movie. And in the coma, it's like we get flashes of Rocket Raccoon's origin story, which is just fucked up, demented stuff. Him hanging out with like other animal experiments and then like bonding, forming a family, even though they're all fucked up and like made out of trash. And eventually Rocket Raccoon realizes that they're all going to die. He makes a plan to get them all off the spaceship, and the black guy kills his family. His found family of these freaky animals. And Rocket Raccoon shreds his face off completely. This whole time, this black guy, his face has been a mask. This black guy's origin story is that Rocket Raccoon shredded the skin off of his face. All of it.
and his actual face is just muscle and blood.
So this is a pretty psychotic, graphic PG-13 movie. There's a lot of like weird Nebula's constantly getting their bones, her neck broken, just like hundreds of shots of necks breaking. Demented stuff,
but pretty cool. And Peter Quill and Gamora, who Gamora's now like whatever, dumb. She doesn't remember who she is, and they kind of like fall back in love a little bit. They're like the chemistry's a little bit reignited, but they don't really get back together. And Peter Quill goes and hangs out with his grandpa back on Earth. At the end of the movie, he's like, I'm gonna go see how my grandpa's doing, even though we didn't quite get along. And he leaves Rocket Raccoon in charge as the captain of the new iteration of the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is just Kraglin and Groot and some guys, I don't know, a kid. And that's the movie, and I don't think I left anything out. It's pretty crazy. It's all handled well as like a big picture kind of thing.
There's just like small things to nitpick. I don't know. The soundtrack, there's the Zune, which has been incorporated since the second film. This film gets to take full use of the Zune, so the soundtrack opportunities are opened up. The song starts out with Creep by Radiohead. It's the censored version. It's the censored version of Creep that doesn't have the F word. Later on in the movie, Chris Pratt as Star-Lord says the F word, and it's like, how about you take that F word and give it back to Creep in the beginning, your opening song? How about you play the uncensored version of your opening song? And don't have Chris Pratt saying the F word.
And then it's like, it plays like the Flaming Lips, but it also at the same time it's still playing
like the old music, like from the 70s and the 80s.
It plays No Sleep Till Brooklyn during like a climatic, badass, like the group walking scene.
And I mean, it worked.
Like, it worked way better than it did when it played No Sleep Till Brooklyn in
the Mario movie just a week ago.
But why? Why that? And it's just like, the whole thing just feels like slightly less inspired. Not in concept, because like I said, the concepts are pretty crazy. But just in execution, it feels a little bit less inspired than
like the peak of this trilogy.
One of the end credits scene, it has Rocky Raccoon playing
Come and Get Your Love on the Zune. And I don't think there's any use of music in this movie that is as like just like striking in its own right as seeing the opening sequence of Guardians of the Galaxy with Chris Pratt like just hopping around dancing to Come and Get Your Love was, to me, the very first time I saw that movie in theaters.
And also, like, the humor is not quite as on point in this movie as maybe it has been in the other movies. Or maybe it's just like,
it's just getting old.
And there's like, the whole movie's about Rocket Raccoon. There's a badass scene where like the whole Guardians of the Galaxy, after Rocket Raccoon has been healed and woken back up from his coma, they're all taking down these genetically modified monsters in a hallway scene. And it's a pretty cool scene for, like, from my perception. I don't know, maybe you could go frame by frame and nitpick it more. But one thing that I didn't like about it was that there was a scene of Rocket Raccoon, who is the flagship character of not only this movie, but seemingly of the whole Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy.
And he gets his badass scene in this.
He gets to, like, do a backflip where he comes up in front of the camera and there's like a woohoo, woo boy! And it's not synced up with his fucking mouth.
And that's just like, that's kind of what I mean. It's just like, that's emblematic of there just not being that, like, real, like, force behind the scenes.
Or at least that's the way it feels. There's just a spark slightly lacking in the execution overall.
But that's such a small thing, and it's just like it makes it slightly worse
than the second one. But it's still a
pretty on par movie. It's better than the first one, and it's still pretty cool. And I'm just saying, this is my first reaction, so maybe I'll grow to like it even more. Maybe I'll forgive the things even more. We're talking about movies that do have flaws. This is a flawed franchise. This is a flawed creative endeavor just from the foundation, these comic book movies and the MCU. This is certainly one of the better ones, and pretty solid third part to this trilogy, which is actually just a bunch of crammed together crap in a franchise.